Is Renfield a bloody good time or does it suck? We'll find out now. Hello, everyone. Oh, God. Hello, everyone. This is David Stark from Watch Our Past, and I'm here to talk to you about Renfield, which is coming to theaters on April 14th, 2023. It is a new vampire dark comedy starring Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, and the big question is, does it suck? Well, no, it does not. My hot take is, look, I really liked it. I think you should watch it. It's a really funny dark comedy with a great cast, plenty of over-the-top humor and gore, and a wonderful style that will keep you smiling. It definitely does not suck. So, overall, I liked it. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought it could go 50-50, but I really enjoyed it. I'm going to tell you a little more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and go into the ending. So, as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this film, I would turn it off at the ending section, but I'll give you plenty of warning before that. Before I go into spoilers, I'll keep it vague so you can keep watching, get my thoughts, get the things I liked, and then when I get into the spoilers, I will let you know, and you can turn it off if you want to. So in Renfield, you have the title character, Renfield. He is an assistant to Dracula. Nicolas Cage plays Dracula. Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield. He's called the Familiar. So in like magical terms, he is his like pet, essentially. He is his helper. He does what his master, in this case, Dracula, tells him to. And most of that involves him taking care of Dracula's affairs, luring victims to see Dracula, and also kind of like making sure that he stays safe mostly during the day. And in exchange for that, Dracula gives Renfield like his own type of powers. He gives him the ability to kind of like unlock Dracula-like powers for short bursts, and also he uses his blood to heal Renfield and give him eternal life. So is that worth it? Well, that's kind of Renfield's big moral conundrum, and we will find out as the movie progresses. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, look, I love the humor. It's a really funny movie. It definitely has kind of a dark comedic style that is really throughout the movie. There's a lot of very funny moments, there's a lot of very funny writing, and I was definitely smiling throughout. This is a movie that is going to make you chuckle if you like that kind of humor. The second thing I loved are the effects, and I think that it's a mix of like practical and CG effects. I'll get into the CG effects a little bit later, but it does appear to have some practical effects. I think especially for Dracula's character, they did practical effects on him, and some of the different stages of his character look really, really good. I'm almost certain they're practical effects. I could have gone either way, but when I was watching, I'm pretty sure they were. Now, that being said, the film does use CG, and I'll address that later, but at least the practical effects look really good. The third thing I love is the sets. Like, this film has some really intricate sets, especially Dracula's like main lair. It's very imaginative, and it fits perfectly with the kind of overall story of Dracula being in a different place in like a city, and kind of what he would do in that instance, what kind of lair he would have. I really liked that. I also really liked that this was set in New Orleans because you have a lot going on, and you have a lot of people for Renfield to interact with as he goes along his doing Dracula's bidding and also fighting with his own moral character. The fourth thing I loved is the cast. You know, Nick Cage is kind of perfect for Dracula. He is so over the top, and it's kind of trademark Nick Cage. It is a perfect fit for the Dracula character. It really kind of makes a lot of the humor and the interaction between Dracula and Renfield work very well. I also like Nicholas Hoult as Renfield. He is kind of funny. He is off-putting. He definitely kind of really sells the character. And a lot of the humor is because of the things that Nicholas Hoult does and the way that he interacts with people in the film. And Awkwafina was really fun too. She is a kind of beat cop in this movie, and she definitely gets involved in the story. And her character does also kind of contribute to the overall humor and the overall craziness of this movie. And the last thing I liked is the style. Look, this film has a really fun like Dracula style. It definitely kind of references older movies and older things. You definitely get a little bit of like Bram Stoker's Dracula in here. You get some of the classic Dracula movies. It feels like this movie meshes those together and tries to turn it into a modern day tale. And especially like when they go into like some of the classic Dracula stuff, it has this really fun old school film grain and old school like camera style that is really, really nice to see. So things I didn't love about this film, there's not really that much. I already kind of touched on it. There is definitely some CG. I am almost certain. A lot of the blood effects seem to be CG. A lot of the kind of crazier things that happen seem to be CG. And It looks good, but it's definitely noticeable. I wish that it would have gone a little bit more on the practical side. I understand maybe why they didn't, because there's definitely some very big blood scenes. But so that being said, the CG effects aren't super noticeable, but they're definitely in there. And I think the film does a nice job of trying to balance them, but definitely I wish they would stay on the practical side for more of it. There's some scenes where like blood will pour down and you would expect more to be on like the character's clothes, and it doesn't really show up. Again, very minor things, but things I noticed. So now I'm going to talk about the ending of this film. If you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. There will be spoilers. So, like I said, Renfield is Dracula's familiar. So he kind of gets some power from Dracula. He does Dracula's bidding. Overall, it doesn't seem like a great relationship for Renfield, but he's been doing it for so long. It's kind of the life that he knows. But in the movie, he kind of starts to feel like maybe this is not the right way. He's actually going to a support group for kind of people in abusive relationships. And he originally does this to try to get victims for Dracula. Not the people in the support group, but he'll hear about these horrible people and then he'll kidnap them and take them to Dracula so that he can drain them. So kind of like still killing people, but trying to kill like only bad people. But in going to these meetings, it starts to kind of sink in that he is also in an abusive relationship. Maybe it's time for him to break out from under Dracula's control. Now, Renfield and Dracula aren't the only characters. There is also Awkwafina, who is a police officer and run by this same mob family and run by this same like gangster family that she is trying to take down. That family... That family is the Lobos family, and their main characters are like the mother and the son Teddy. Awkwafina. Teddy and Awkwafina really kind of get into it, and Teddy plays a major role later on in this movie. So you have all these different things going on. Now, eventually, Renfield decides it's time to make a break from Dracula. He has been taking care of him because in their last city, Dracula was attacked by a bunch of vampire hunters and they almost killed him. So Renfield has been nursing him back. He had to uproot them from that city, took him to New Orleans, and Renfield has been slowly nursing Dracula back to health. Now, because of the support group, he is thinking, well, maybe I can prevent Dracula from getting to full health and I can be my own person. I can live my own life and not have to do his bidding. It doesn't really work out for Renfield. He ends up helping Awkwafina when she is attacked by the Lobos gang. He helps her out in the bar. He fights off the Lobos gang along with her. And her praise of him, her like thanking him, makes him think maybe I can be this good person. Maybe I can break free of Dracula. So he then leaves. He sets up his own life. He sets up his own apartment. He tries to stay away from Dracula. Is he able to? No, unfortunately, he's not. Eventually, the heat from him taking on the Lobos in that bar with Awkwafina's character caused Teddy to try to take him out. Now they track him to this abandoned hospital, which is where Dracula's lair is. And I love Dracula's lair. It's like this old abandoned hospital. It looks decrepit. It looks wonderful, but they do this really cool thing with his like main seat. He has like a throne in there, and behind him is all these just like blood bags that are in this like sprayed out, almost like peacock looking thing. It is really cool. It is a really kind of imaginative design, and the whole place looks like an old style castle in a like decrepit hospital. There's a bunch of candles, there's a bunch of like paintings and things like that. It is a really imaginative set. So Teddy and his crew go and try to take out Renfield, but they end up stumbling into Dracula's lair. That doesn't really work for Dracula. He takes out the Lobos, but when he's trying to take out Teddy, he and Teddy come to an understanding, and Teddy says they can help each other. Dracula's trying to increase his power. He's sick of living in the shadows. He wants to kind of be more upfront with what he's doing. And Teddy wants the kind of the power that Dracula has. Now, unfortunately for Awkwafina's character, who's named Rebecca Quincy, this understanding involves taking her out because she is definitely trying to take down the Lobos gang. She is doing it. She's on this crusade because they took out her father. But the Lobos gang kind of controls the city, controls the police. And now Rebecca is hanging out with Renfield because of an earlier incident that Renfield had with Dracula. So Renfield is a wanted person. Rebecca is there as well. And now she is running from both the Lobos gang and the police officers who are all trying to take her out. Now, eventually, Teddy brings Dracula, after their little understanding, to the Lobos gang, and Dracula meets Teddy's mother. And the meeting seems to go off well. They seem to kind of come to an agreement. And they decided they need to get Renfield and they need to take out Rebecca Quincy. So they kidnap Quincy's sister, who is also a cop, but she's an FBI agent. She is in the same city. They kidnap her to draw Rebecca and by extension Renfield into this trap that they're going to set up. Of course, Rebecca and Renfield go to the Lobos headquarters to try to save Rebecca's sister and take out both Teddy and Dracula. But when they get there, we find out that Renfield is not the only familiar who has Dracula powers. All the other kind of Lobos gang members are now Dracula's familiars. And you can tell that they are familiars because essentially what Renfield is able to do is he's able to eat bugs, and I guess that gives him their life force that he can use for a short time. So when he eats a bug, his eyes turn gold, and he can use like Dracula's powers. He gets super speed, super strength. He can heal himself a little bit. I thought it was an interesting idea, especially because I thought like maybe they were like bugs infused with Dracula's blood, but apparently it's any bug. So it's a little bit strange. I guess maybe Renfield still needs to have some Dracula blood in him, and then maybe the bugs kind of like accelerate that and give him some blood power because he already has Dracula's blood in it. But it was a little weird. I thought he had this like special tin of bugs that were like infused with Dracula's blood at the start, but they ended up just being like normal bugs. He can eat pretty much any bug and get their powers. And so now the Lobos gang can also pretty much eat any bug and get their powers. They all kind of converge on Renfield and Quincy. They fight it out. Renfield holds his own though. He beats up like most of the Lobos gang members and then tries to take on Teddy. They are fighting, and he tells Rebecca to keep going. Rebecca keeps going. She makes it to like the main mother's headquarters, the like headquarters of the gang. But when she gets there, Dracula is also there, and Dracula tries to convince Rebecca to join him, become another one of his familiars, so that they can kind of help each other out. And the carrot here is, if she does join him, he will use his blood to bring back her sister, who we find out was killed by the Lobos gang. They wheel her out. She is dead. But Dracula says, I will bring her back with my blood. So during this time, Teddy and Renfield are fighting. Teddy seems to have the upper hand, but eventually Renfield overcomes him. And he goes into the room when Dracula is trying to seduce Rebecca to join him. And it seems like Rebecca is taking to the idea. She basically says, like, I lost my dad. I can't lose my sister. You know, if Dracula can bring her back, then, you know, I am a small price to pay for that. But it's all a ruse. When Dracula goes in close, Rebecca opens the shades to this room. The shades come up, the sun pours in, and Dracula gets hit by the sun. And you're like, oh no, it's over. But nope, Dracula turns to the bats, tries to fly away while attacking Renfield. So these bats somehow are able to attack Renfield while the sun is like shining on them. They knock out Renfield and draw Rebecca into this like dark room. So they draw both Renfield and Rebecca into this dark room. They knock out Renfield, and then Dracula reforms and essentially now is trying to kill Rebecca. He lifts her up. He's about to kill her. He's trying to kill her. She ends up shooting him in the foot, which you think is, oh, okay, so that's all she can do. She can't actually think about. But the key is, when she shoots in the foot, some of Dracula's blood drips down, and that blood drips into Renfield. And that blood supercharges Renfield. He heals up from when the bats beat him up and then attacks Dracula. And this is a funny scene because while he is fighting Dracula, he starts doing his like affirmations from his support group about how he is codependent and how he is like stronger and whatnot as he's beating up Dracula. It seems like he's doing a good job, but then Dracula kind of like throws Renfield aside and is getting ready to attack them both. But as he attacks, he accidentally goes into this like circle of protection, which they use at the very start when those vampire hunters first tried to take out Dracula, which caused Dracula and Renfield to have to move to New Orleans and kind of uproot their life. They made a protection circle. It just requires a circle of powder, apparently any powder, and some magical words. Now, while Renfield and Dracula were fighting, Rebecca took some cocaine that was in the room, made a protection circle, found the instructions on a Wiccan Tumblr, which was interesting that Tumblr was mentioned because I haven't really heard Tumblr in a very long time, but I guess it probably still exists. She was able to find the instructions there, cast the spell, and they now are able to trap Dracula in this protection circle. Now, what do they do while he's there? Well, they get some weapons and they finally put an end to Dracula. They beat him up in a gratuitous, gory, over-the-top manner, and that is one thing that this film definitely has. It has a lot of over-the-top gore and humor, and I liked it. It definitely knows that it is going for a more extreme gore and does it in kind of a comedic way. It helps to contribute to like the comedy of it when you see like over-the-top crazy gore that happens. So they beat up Dracula, they cut him into little pieces, they put him into like cement and dump him all over. They don't know if it'll actually end up ending Dracula for good, but they're going to give it their old college try, and at least it'll keep Dracula from coming back for a very long time. And during this time, they save some of Dracula's blood. They use that to bring back Rebecca's sister, who was killed by the Lobos gang, and they bring back some of the other victims who were Renfield's friends. They were victims of Dracula earlier on. So they get to bring everyone back. All's well that ends well. And that is Renfield. Like I said, I really liked it. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was really enjoyable. Definitely check it out. And also during the credits, there's no like stinger, but there are some fun kind of like old school movie stylized scenes during the credits as they are introducing the characters, and also like at the end there is a, not really a stinger, but it shows Nick Cage as Dracula in like an older style looking shot for a while as he like stares into the camera. It's fun. It is enjoyable. If you like kind of the style that Renfield is going for, you will enjoy the credits. So that is Renfield. That comes to theaters on April 14, 2023. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.